Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to the Fort Salem Library, where we read you your fanfiction. So sit down or don't, relax or don't, and enjoy these stories in a way you have not before. We at Fort Salem Library do not own Motherland Fort Salem or any of the related characters. The Motherland Fort Salem series is created by Elliot Lawrence and owned by Freeform. This story is a work of fanfiction and is meant for entertainment only. We are not making any profit from these stories. All rights of the original Motherland Fort Salem story belong to Freeform. We also do not own Bus Ride or any of its original characters and storylines. We did, however, get permission from the author to read their story. This story was created and written by Fab_fan, and you can find a link in our show notes. This story is being read to you by Ilaria.
Bus ride. The seat bounced and jerked beneath her as the minibus bounced along the pothole and crack-strewn road that was already half gravel before time and lack of giving a damn took hold and pickled at the pavement till it turned into a crumbling mass resembling dirt sifting through a gloved hand on a hot summer day in the fields of corn and hay that lined the dusty path heading east towards the river. The engine rumbled, letting Rail know Nicte had pushed a touch harder on the gas, and the windows shivered in time with the wheels and wind. Hints of frost tapped at the closed glass, and a glance outside revealed a world she hadn't seen before yet, knew by heart. The session. They'd been traveling for who knows how long. Days, weeks, barely stopping for gas and food before another took over the wheel till the sun and stars moved enough to signal as switching drivers. The radio crackled sometimes, rusty, partially muffled notes of an old tune, an AM station, beamed out to the boondocks, or the garbled gabble of a newscaster relay the morning stories. They tended to pay the most attention to those. Not much was said about the escape of murderous witches who killed the vice president's daughter in cold blood, but there was still a chill in the air that wasn't from the snow packed on the ground or the ice in the lakes. Shoulders never lost the tension, tightening muscles, not when they knew they were innocent, not when the camarilla lurked in the periphery, not when the leader of the spree shared the same area as Petra Bellwether's daughter, not when their lives had upended so quickly it was a wonder the entire world hadn't turned upside down and inside out. Hitting another bump, Rel jostled enough that her shoulder brushed against the person, the woman, seated next to her. The feel of the rough fabric of the shirt, covering milky freckled arms, rubbing against the crinkled blue uniform jacket, caused a hitch to jolt in Rel's chest, and her eyes to flutter closed for a moment. She gulped back against the tightness that sunk down from her shoulders to settle against her voice, and pursed her lips, biting softly against the bottom one to taste the faint whiff of stale coffee and dry air. Letting the air flow into her lungs, she blinked and tilted her chin to peer over. Scylla was beautiful. That's the first thought that struck her, same as the first time they ever met. That day which felt like eons ago, young and angry and restless, running to nowhere and hoping for a quick end to a pain that never went away, wanting everything to change yet not believing it ever could. Surrounded by storms and fury, a stunningly hypnotic brunette appeared out of thin air, like a mirage, a figment of her imagination. Smirking and sultry, Rel had never seen anything as beautiful as the woman walking towards her. Scylla took her heart that day and never gave it back. No matter how much Rel tried to not get tangled up, get lost, fall head over heels for a witch that didn't even want to tell her one speck of information about herself for so long. A girl who clearly didn't want complicated, serious, real. Scylla made Rel want all that, though. Made her want complicated, serious, real, want a future, want to be happy, and love. Scylla had her falling before Rel even knew she tripped. Plummeted so far down, there was no way to claw herself back up. Scylla made Rel feel things that the blonde had accepted would never happen to her. She wasn't her mama or pop. She wasn't going to find some nice pretty girl to settle down with, have a family. No, that wasn't in the cards for her. The half-breed daughter of a mechanic and dead soldier was going to go to the front lines straight out of basic, get blown up before the ravages of war tore her apart, like they did her mama. The heart she needed to guard would be blown up before she met anyone special enough to show the tender broken sides to. The sides that wanted to hold hands and fall asleep in warm arms, that wanted dates and long walks and flowers, wanted smiles and laughter and whispered words that sounded like eternal vows. The romantic Rahel hid behind years of bitterness and simmering rage, behind frustration and pain, a soul that gave up on herself, on the world, on anything other than a quiet release to the other side. Yet Scylla found her, touched her, kissed her, smiled and laughed. She hooked Rel in. The blonde curled her fingers into the palms of her hands as she sat there, blue eyes taking in the rosy cheeks and silky locks of her lover. This girl hooked her in and never let go, had her thinking of love songs, of bringing her home to meet her dad, showing her the old guitar and playing it for the first time since her mom died, showing her the town and introducing her to Queen. A scoff bubbled on her tongue. Scylla did get to see the session, got to meet Gwen and her dad, just not the way Rel planned, dreamed of, because Scylla lied to her, told her what she wanted to hear, only sought her out that first day because she was told to, by Rel's mom. Jesus, if that wasn't a mess, a goddamn mess. A burning fire reared up in Rel's heart. It hurts. It was always going to hurt. Her mom left, walked away, didn't die. Except she did. She did die to save Rel. Scylla knew about Willa, was free, lied, so many lies, so much hurt and grief and goddamn fear. Now, here they were, running away. They were running away together. So what are we waiting for? We'll run away and leave it on the beach. There was no beach, but Scylla looked just as lovely as she did that day in the sun. Her smile was just as cute, her touch just as tender yet strong. Rel's heart still thundered and skipped when she saw her. Rel exhaled. Her heart still wanted Scylla. Her arms ached to hold her. Her lips begged to kiss her. Everything felt empty without her. The very boots on her feet aimed to stand beside her, to never leave her. Fingertips twitched to reach out and grasp her hand, her arm, her elbow, any part of her, to cup her face and caress her neck, slip her smooth hair behind her ear and trace the well-worn trail down to the brunette's waist, take her chin and hug her close, watch her for hours and never tire. Ask her every question imaginable yet never known enough. She wanted Scylla, enough to dream about her, wish for her. She wanted Scylla, loved her. She never stopped loving her, not really. And if she did, if somehow Rel's heart, mind and soul were able to forget about this creature who took over her every waking thought, were able to refuse her advances, to decide not to need her anymore. Well, Rel was falling for her all over again. Falling for the way she looked in the sunlight, the way she huddled close while she slept, protective of the fixer even when she wasn't aware of the outside world, the way she made sure Rel was comfortable, shared her granola bar and passed over bottles of water, sat up front with her when Rel drove and spoke softly into the night, told her about joining the spree, about Willa, about how Rel made her feel so amazing it couldn't have been real. Rel couldn't have been real. That she loved Rel. Her love for Rel had been, was, and would always be real and true. Scylla never missed a chance to tell her that Rel she loved her, was never letting her go again, would prove it, always, every day, forever, no matter what. Even Abigail had backed down, rolled her eyes but tossed out a biting joke or two and a look that let Rel know the bellwether wasn't going to cause trouble for them, that Scylla had to prove herself, that if she failed, Abigail would be the first in line to kick her ass. But she was giving Scylla a chance to not hurt her friend, to not shatter her family. Staring as the evening grew darker and the sun lower in the sky, pinks and oranges reflecting off the glass to cast a brilliant splash of color across the Necro's face, Rel wanted to sing, grab her guitar and play one of the songs she'd learned for a girl she'd never know. Never know till that day at Fort Salem. As if hearing Rel's thoughts, Scylla blinked and turned her head to catch the searching gaze. She frowned a bit, eyebrows knitting together. Rel, I love you. It came out, easy as pie, natural, as if Rel said them every day, like, hello, or how are you? Like she'd been reciting them to Scylla their entire lives, off the cuff and unimportant, except it was important, more important than anything else in the world. Scylla gasped quietly and her jaw ticked. Dark blue darted back and forth between Rel's sky-hued eyes. Inching closer, Rel threaded her right arm along the back of Scylla's shoulders and laid her closed left palm across her knuckles. Scylla picked down at their joined ends and didn't look back up, almost as if she was afraid to. Rel wet her lips and cleared her suddenly dry throat. I do love you. I know I told you on the phone, but I love you, Scylla. I don't know if I ever stopped, if I ever could, but there's a lot that's happened. So much I can't even think of it all. But I know that I want you. It's going to be hard, because it hurts. It still hurts sometimes. I don't want it to, but it does. She squeezed her hand, thumb dipping down to press against the lines of her palm. It hurts, but it's not always going to. I want to be with you while it does, and I want to be with you when it doesn't. I can't lose you. I barely survived it once. Thinking of not being able to be with you ever again, it's about as scary as anything can be. Scylla sniffed, mouth trembling, and she finally looked up. There were tears in her eyes. Rel didn't know there were tears in hers too, until she blinked, one falling down the slope of her cheek. Breathing shakily, the fixer shifted even closer, the two forming their own little world, separate from the rest of the universe. I love you. I love you too, Scylla promised. I'm going to be with you. I don't care what anyone else says or thinks, Rel vowed. Scylla twisted her palm to press their hands together. We can do this, can we? Rel took a beat to steady herself. Yes. Scylla held her hand tightly. We can do this, okay? Rel nodded. Okay. They shared a smile full of tentative hope, adoration, and comfort. Shitbird, if you're about done, it's your turn to drive, Abigail's voice echoed in the bus. Abigail, I told you I'd do it, Tally tutted. Leave them alone. If we leave them alone, they'll try to have sex in the back row. Gillis Bellwether? Scylla shot out as Rel sighed and rolled her eyes. That you're short enough to get stuck under these seats? No, I can't say that I am. Is anyone else hungry? Tally jumped in. Rel is, Abigail replied with a glint in her eye. Not as thirsty as Abs is. Rel reluctantly turned away to face the rest of the group. I think I saw a stream a few miles back. Maybe Bellwether and Adele can go there and help quench that thirst, Scylla added. Pretty sure we all heard them quench that thirst last night. Tally shrugged when Abigail's eyes caught over at her comment. What? Rel grinned as her friends began to bicker, Nicte at the wheel rolling her eyes and scowling at the younger witches. Feeling Scylla lean into her side, she pressed a kiss the side of her head. The world was upside down and inside out, but she was falling in love again. She was in love again.
Please find the fanfiction you just listened to on Archive of Our Own and leave the author some love. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and we want to thank them from the bottoms of our hearts for creating these amazing stories and keeping the show alive.